Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinski's Tutorials. So today I'm taking a look at Frostbite 2 by AudioThing, and I'm going to do a walkthrough, demo, and review of this. So this just came out for iOS, and it's been out on desktop for a while. You'll find links and stuff in the pinned comment of this video. And also, you'll see a link there to like my Patreon, where there are giveaways for people to win copies of this for iOS, as well as actually even stuff like a chance for for someone to win almost any AudioThing desktop plugin. So you check that out in the link there for my Patreon. So let's just flick back there a second. So, if we look at this plugin, and I'll just go over very briefly what it is and the general structure of the UI. So if we look at the UI, you see, 5 sections: RingMod, feedback, that's a bit like a flanger maybe, freeze, which has a little knob here actually where you turn freeze on and off. Now, if you see descriptions of this plugin, it often says it's a Spectral freezing plugin, but that actually refers to the original version, because the original version only had the Spectral option here, and now it has these other options as well. So it's not really accurate to describe it as a Spectral reverb plugin anymore, not this Frostbite 2. It can do that, but it can do other types, Spectral freezing plugin. It can do that, but it can also do other types of freezing, and it can, you can have a reverb without freezing it and so on. You have this LFO here. Only one LFO, unfortunately, but a lot of possible destinations. And then here, this master section, where it's very important to pay attention to whether things are serial or parallel. So let's stick on the freeze here. So here we've got it in serial routing, and RingMod is turned off. So we got feedback, and then that's going into the convolution section here. And freeze is on, so let me turn freeze off. Let me just turn feedback off as well for a second. So I just got the mix set to the middle point here. This is just a typical algorithmic reverb. So convolution multiplies the input signal with a randomly generated noise impulse up to 60 seconds. This granular here, I don't think the manual actually gives any details on that, but just some kind of granular reverb. Spectral uses fast Fourier transform to store several analysis windows in memory and replay them, randomizing their phases. So basically taking snapshots of the frequencies. So here, just a little sort of industrial sound. And so here we got everything on: feedback, RingMod, and freeze. And the LFO here is modulating the RingMod output. Let's play with that LFO rate. So that's synced. Let me put it in unsynced. So this is tardigrade. I'm using one of these presets. I demoed these the other day. It's the last video I did before this one. The DMT Cymatics tardigrade pack. You'll find a link to go and buy those in the pinned comment of this video. Using that link will support my channel as well, so thank you. Thanks to everybody who bought presets using that link. So here, you can hear that most of what's happening there is from this feedback section. That RingMod is doing very little there, but let's bring RingMod in and let me turn off sync and increase that frequency. And that is a bit more interesting. So here I've moved the RingMod over, so right, we can just drag these around. That'll only make a difference, of course, if you're in serial mode. So we can also run things in parallel mode, in which case dragging them around won't make any difference. So here, increasing the feedback delay speed. Definitely nicer on a shorter value for this one. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail. So I think I'll use, okay, let's use this first just. So here, glitch step, which I also reviewed the other day. Sending MIDI into Spelldoza. All of this done inside AUM on my iPad. I've got a video on AUM called Almost Everything You Need to Know About AUM, if you're curious about it. So let's look at the different sections. So I'll just bring in, let's see. But we'll look at the feedback section first here, okay? So in the feedback section, we set the time for the delay before the audio gets fed back into itself. So from 1 millisecond to 1 second, or with sync on from a 30-second triplet to 4 bars. And we can turn on a ping pong effect if we want. That sounds really good. This beautiful sounding plugin. So choose from various filter types here. And we got cutoff and resonance. That really just sounds great, doesn't it? I love this feedback section. So every section has a little balance knob. It's just like a panning effect, basically. Panning that particular effect. So that's a really nice touch that it's got one for each of those sections. And every section has this mix and output, right? So the bottom of every section is the same. Okay, let's try the RingMod. So let's change it to triangles, say. And let's bring up that mix maybe a bit. So again, remember you can play with the phase. And stereo sync option. Sync option really doesn't go fast enough to be as interesting as the unsynced option. Filter, cutoff and resonance, and various filter types. Now the fade will just set how long it'll take for things to fade out when you've got it in freeze mode and you pause your transport. So you can set very long fade times there. Width will just do a little phase offset on the left and right to create a kind of stereo effect. So we just look at the freeze section. Freeze off. And really playing around with the EQ will make a huge difference. Then again, the LFO section, only one LFO, adjustable phase, and rate with a sync option, and really loads and loads of destinations. So modulating there that cutoff and that RingMod. That's nice, right? The LFO modding that RingMod output. And then master, serial, parallel, high pass, dry and wet. So let me just finish off with a little going through some of the presets. So we'll just use this very simple input and let's check some of the presets. So there's some kind of weird bug for me anyway with this preset browser where I just had it on init there, and I've mentioned this by the way to the dev, but I don't know if it's going to get fixed. It's just not jumping for me to the next preset. If I'm on init, it should be jumping to this one 2001, but if you saw, that's not what it's doing. It's jumping further down the list. So it's something just kind of weird there. And now it's working, right? So I've had this issue for ages in AudioThing plugins and it still hasn't been fixed. Kind of bugs me. Okay, let's have a listen. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll just demo a few. I mean, really, a lot of the fun with this is tweaking rather than just sticking with one preset, but just to give an idea of what's there. Just jump through and grab some random ones. Obviously, not all of them are going to sound good on every type of input. Okay, so I'll just finish off then with a quick review. So I think it sounds great. I can't comment on the pricing for iOS because I don't know what the release price is going to be. I'm making this the day before it comes out. But yeah, I mean, it's really pretty cool. It's a lot more versatile than I thought it would be when I just heard, you know, Spectral freezing plugin. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just Spectral freezing. You have now all these other modes. I found something on GearSpace where Carlo, the dev, was describing the difference between Frostbite 1 and Frostbite 2. There's an upgrade, you know, package for those. So if anybody has the first one, I'll see if I remember. I'll put that information into this pinned comment as well, what the difference is between version 1 and 2. So great sound. Now, some constructive criticism. UI, as I said, if I flick through the presets, it takes me a while after each preset to see, you know, where's RingMod, where's feedback, because it just all looks very samey. I mean, it's nice enough UI, but I really wouldn't mind a little bit of color coding or something, at least just for the titles of these sections, even if the main colors of each module were different, you know? It's just a wee bit drab and yeah, but I am glad that you can move these modules around like this. It's nice. As usual with AudioThing plugins, modulation is there, but it's very, very limited, just one LFO. And I noticed from that GearSpace page for this that back in 2019, Carlo said they were planning to add more LFOs, but there's still just one. So yeah, it really would be honestly like much more interesting to have a few LFOs there. And I mean, then you can say, well, just you know, use external LFOs, but then why bother putting one in anyway? I don't know, like just 2 or 3 would definitely make a difference. I would really like if it had a few more LFOs in there. The manual's a bit bare bones. The manual still describes it as a spectral freezing plugin, which I found confusing since it's no longer just a spectral freezing plugin. A little bit more information about some of that stuff in the manual I would personally have kind of appreciated as someone who has to make a video explaining the thing. I do always feel that AudioThing manuals are just a little bit too bare bones. I mean, I'm glad that they don't go into too much detail. If I think about, for example, the like Waldorf Microwave 1 manual, and that's such a cool app, and I reviewed that recently. Brilliant. But like the manual, I mean, it is great if you're like a complete newbie to synths, but I think a lot of people would just find there's just too much information there. Well, too much information is definitely not something you can accuse AudioThing of in their manuals. A bit more information would not go amiss for me. But yeah, really cool. And I think it's a lot of fun and a lot more versatile than I expected. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.